Hello, it's Chris. Let's talk about an important topic which is all around us, and it doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter how old you are, it has a huge effect on your household, on your life, your family, and your country, and actually on the globe. And this is inflation. And inflation in the past years started to spike. And to understand inflation is critical to know what to do with it. And the best way to go to understand or try to understand what inflation is if you use someone's knowledge who is familiar with the topic, much more than we usual mortals. We could talk a bit about the views of Milton and Rose Friedman, the famous economists. Milton won a Nobel Prize in economics, and he saw exactly what inflation is and what one can do with it. I recommend you to read the book Free to Choose from Milton and Rose Friedman, and this will bring you into the economic events. And so let's go dive in first what inflation is and what it was in the past. And if you go in the past, as Milton described earlier in some of his speeches, it is a disease. It is a disease which is with us for long time. And after the First World War, as he points out, in Austria, in Germany, and in Russia as well, was extreme levels of inflation. So much that payments should have been made several times a day to employees to be able to buy things in the shop. And this is the extreme case, of course, but we are in a wrong path in this sense globally, because the tendency is going up and inflation spikes dramatically. In case of Brazil or other countries in South America like Chile, it even brought down the economic structure and the government as well. And in some cases it changed to really a terrible situation, like in Chile, that a dictatorship took over after a revolution. So it's a tough topic. So what is inflation? As Milton says or said, it is actually a phenomenon, which is a monetary phenomenon. So it is created artificially by governments, and just by governments, because of the printing of money is in the hands of governments or institutions which serve us. If the money printing is exceeding, so it's when it grows and much more money is printed than generally created, then it is having a huge impact on the prices and on inflation. So the more money is printed, the more the inflation is, actually. And this is a problem. And in some countries, over 80% of the existing money was, or around 80% of the existing money was created in a few years back. So in few years, or in 1 year almost. And this is tough. I mean, it has a huge effect on the country. And if you are taking a look at Brussels, so Brussels, or where the European Union is, or to Washington, where the government is, They don't accept this. They don't think that inflation is caused by the government, by printing money, because they don't want to take the responsibility what's going on. And they are pointing to everywhere. They are pointing to the businessmen, they are pointing to organizations, and or the consumer, or war. They say, oh yeah, this war in here or there is the cause of inflation, because then the trade is not going like. And no, it's not true. As Milton Friedman said, it is just the cause of printing money, printing too much money. And in case of blockchain systems, where when we see those coins as coins and not as an asset tokenization vehicle, let's say, then there is a limited amount, like in case of gold. There is a limited amount of gold on the globe. The limited amount is taken out, is in the consumer world, in the economic system, in materials, in phones, or in jewelries and so on. And it depends on how many the mines are taking out, how much is coming into the system. But it's a limited amount. And it's a very small amount, actually. In case of the blockchain systems, these coins are limited. Like in case of Ravencoin, for example, 21 billion coins. That's it. No more is going to be created. This is what you have. You have to deal with that. There is no one can dilute this or make this make the experiment like these governments who are printing the money and thereby creating it's the same as if you bring a water and you take water and you take some special sweet drink, and you started to mix the drink with water. It loses the taste. It just loses the taste of the drink, and after a while you don't even recognize what was it. Maybe the color, even the color is changing. So you lose the value of that drink by pushing more and more water in it. It's the same with printing money, because there are much more in circulation than it is created, actually. And I don't want to go in this direction, but usually when these prints are created, then these amount of these monies, or a part of this money, goes to special interest groups, where the government thinks that these groups or these people these companies can fix things. So it's an intervention. Even from that point on could be an intervention in the economic system as well. And the more intervention there is, the less effective the country works. This is the view of some of the greatest economists. And if someone would say that inflation is just a phenomenon of the communist or socialist countries, that's not even true, as Milton says, and he brings up examples of Yugoslavia in Europe, where in the past there was communism, and the inflation was really high. And Switzerland were at the same time, which was at that time as well a capitalist country, and inflation was the lowest, very low. And then Britain and Italy with their 20 and 25% inflation in the past. So it's not related to if it's a communist or capitalist country. It's just related to the leaders who decide to print money. And those businessmen or organizations or people, they cannot, they don't have the printing machines. That's why they are not responsible for the inflation. Just the governments are responsible for printing money because they have the money printers. One more thing I want to mention here is there is a myth. Usually money which we used in the past or which we use in present is an agreement between people who are trusting this paper, and they are trusting the paper actually. So both sides trust the paper, the dollar for example, and this trust is an ID. So this is an ID that they think that it's a great money, and we use it for trade. Both sides, countries like China uses for trade the dollar as well as some of the other countries, and if they agree that this is money and it has a value, it is not really fair to print in one country where the origin of this currency is. In my opinion. And unfortunately it gives a disadvantage to the other countries who are using the money. So the EU has to live with the inflation if they print, and Britain has to live with that, and the US has to live with that as well. And in case of if we go in the future and we imagine that the blockchain systems are going to be used for trade as well, much more than currently, then those blockchain systems which are capable of doing this and are limited, they could be something like gold in the future, something which has a value, is a fixed value, especially if it has assets or assets behind which is valuable, or like gold. Let's say that we have a cryptocurrency which is represents gold, or Ravencoin could represent gold as well, or houses, or contracts, or companies, or fraction of a company, or fraction of a house, like in bricks, for example, in Australia, or in several cases, if you get familiar with the Ravencoin ecosystems, you will see that these companies represent value, and there is just a fixed amount. So it's a much more secure system without the drawbacks of government or printed paper. And if you don't believe me that it's just the cause of money printing, you can go back in history and watch it, search for it, because it's documented, as Milton pointed out. For example, in the US, there is 100-year history of money printing and its effects, and its effect on the inflation. And if you go to back in the direction of Europe and you reach Britain, you have 200-year documented data available about the effect of money printing, and it points out that it pushes the inflation. If you go further to the how you call Scandinavian countries like Sweden, they have also 200-year documented data about inflation, which is, I mean, you cannot play with the facts. It's like mathematics. If this was fact, that's it. You cannot escape this ID. And you have to understand this first, because this is the starting point. That That's the cause. Wherever you go around the globe, you will see the consumer price index and the quantity of money chart are correlating to each other. This is why, this is the cause or the visual interpretation of what I'm saying here, is that they correlate to each other. And the more money is printed, the consumer price index goes with it. And in the 60s and 70s in Japan, there have been like 30% inflation. They took a control of their money printing, and it went back down to 7%, which is remarkable. And in case of Brazil, the chart would show you a huge spike, and really the two charts, the money printing and the consumer price index, are exponentially going parallel with each other up, which is another example of the truth of this statement, that just money printing is causing inflation. And if at this point we would say, oh yeah, we just need someone in the government or someone, a leader who can fix this, then we go actually, then another thing comes in, which is the constrained and unconstrained vision of Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell wrote dozens of books. One of them is Knowledge and Decisions, and the other book is called Conflict of Visions, where Thomas Sowell is describing two types of visions. One is the constrained and one is the unconstrained vision. The constrained vision is when someone is thinking in the following way: there are problems in the world, and there are problems with governments, and we are just like this. We make mistakes, we are greedy, and so on, and we have to fix the problem. This is their vision. And the unconstrained vision is that we have to throw everything out, we have to renew it, or we need a messiah, someone who knows exactly what to do. We have to put there the right leader who knows how to do it. But if you go back in time, you will see that no one could fix inflation. And it was not because some other force was there, because this person, no. If there is a group of people, they cannot be as smart as all the consumers together. And this is why it's not good to put one person or one group in charge, or just say we have to throw everything out and restart from scratch. But fine-tune. The constrained vision is to fine-tune and slowly fix the problems. That's the solution. Change something and see if it fixes it or not. I could not find the book. I don't know where it is. I have it, but I don't know where it is. Anyway, it's a great book. You should read it, because it even twists, gives a twist to this intellectual. The Germans say Herausforderung, which means challenge. So to this challenge, that you cannot fix it with a leader who is the Messiah or something, which Sowell says. But if those who say, oh yeah, one leader or one person can fix it, or this person can fix it, or someone says I can fix it, it's not going to work. It's a work of everyone in the system. It's and we cannot fix it 100%. We just can make it livable or better, in a sense that we think and try out things. And I think that it's the relevancy to Ravencoin and its ecosystem is that here there are many companies. I mean, it has a limited amount, so there is no inflation. And those companies which are working in this ecosystem, they are trying to work as a market, and they try to bring out or come out with the best possible products, best possible support, best possible consumer rating and prices and so on, which is leading the ecosystem in a way like the markets are working, like the US market, which is tending to perfection and welcomes competition, which is wonderful actually. And in case there is someone who takes over the control and he says, hey, I'm going to fix it, it's usually not the way. And Thomas Sowell points out that even in the US Revolution in the past and the French Revolution, we can distinguish between the two in a way that the US Revolution was a constraint of vision and belongs to this group, to this mindset, and the French Revolution belongs to the unconstrained vision, because they thought that the French thought that, yeah, if we create the right institution or put there the right people, we will fix the problems. But the US, in the US Revolution, they said, okay, people are fallible, they create mistakes, and they are like by nature problematic, and the things that caused the revolution should be fixed in a way that let's try to fix the problems. And we know that human nature and nature of institutions are like this, and we just want to fix it, make it better. And this is even in the philosophers, if you go back in time to the great philosophers, Aristotle and Plato. Plato was a kind of representation of the unconstrained vision, because he said, yeah, we have to restart again everything, and we have to push away what existed, and we just have to create something new which will fix the problem. And Aristotle was someone who said, okay, there are problems, let's see everything, and we have to fix it in a way that it's going to get better. And I think that the constrained vision is more relevant and could help much more to society and communities than the unconstrained vision. And I hope that we are going to learn from these problems of inflation in a way that we try to make the systems better, and we accept that this is a problem, and we go back in history and try to learn from this. And in the past, currencies been bound together with gold, and it's very funny to see back in history that when new gold mines being found and a gold rush came, like in the 80s, 50s or 40s in the US, or 50s in Australia, the extra gold which entered the system caused also inflation. So it's very interesting to see that if the amount of the existing gold, which was bound together with the currency, started to increase. So if not the money, but the gold was increased, then you could see an inflation. Yeah, but we know that Nixon broke with gold. So actually, money is not related to gold, so they don't move together. Because in the past there was a reserve of gold for the money, for an amount of money which was a conservative, much more conservative financial engine or system. But after he 50 years ago broke with gold, they can print money. And Milton asks the question, why? Why do they print money? And the answer, there are several answers, several causes, and one of them is so they can spend money. And why they want to spend? It's because of you or me, because we tell them that spend on us much more money, but we don't want to pay taxes, and the two cannot go without each other. So if they are spending on us, there is a tax on it, and actually printing includes the tax as well. So this is why the tax is included in a way. So you cannot escape one without the other. So that you cannot go around. If you want the governments to spend on you, then it will be taxed, or then it's going to come with taxes. So actually, when a government sends you 100 euros, then actually he is not just sending 100 euros for you, he's sending the tax as well. This includes the tax as well. I hope you are with me here. And I think this is a form of taxation which is overshoots the roof if you understand it, because no one have to ask you as a citizen if you want to pay an extra tax for your government. They just create inflation, and you will pay it. You cannot escape. You will pay it. Whenever you get the bill from wherever, it will include the tax. So this is very funny and misleading for many people, and is similar to fractional reserve banking, where you go to the bank and you create a reserve, and you give in your money, you deposit the money, but actually this in the same second someone else will get this money as a loan, and this is not going to sit there in the bank and waiting for you to return. They will not just lend out your money, which you put it as a reserve in the bank, but they have a technique to make it tenfold, 10 times more, and lend it out, which is another phenomenon you have to be aware of. It's going to get a bit too tough, I think. But so you have to understand that you pay every time the tax. This is why I think alternative ways like blockchain systems with limited amount of units, or cryptocurrencies, especially those which are for asset tokenization, they are limited. No one can trick this, because the algorithm and the security level of these networks is really high. No one can break it. So the 21 billion amount of Ravencoin will remain 21 billion, even if now just 200 companies are using Ravencoin for asset tokenization or for other purposes, or when 100,000 companies are going to use it in case we grow that much. So whenever a government is printing money, it includes taxes as well when they spend it, and this is going to be paid by those who are using that money. And in case you think that but my earnings are higher than a year ago, Here comes another punch under the belly or under the belt, which is, which is that in most of the countries, if you get higher earnings, you jump up in a higher earning range where taxes are higher. So in case you earn 20% more, you might pay 23% more taxes, which where you actually end up earning less than before. And this is an extra tax which comes not included in the money, but included in the brackets, which include you. So this is the second punch you get if there is money printing in the environment you are living in. And in case if you would come with that, yeah, but this country is going to cut back taxes now. Actually, yeah, maybe, but since inflation spiked, the tax cuts actually don't matter much, because the money you have will have less value, because if it goes 10 or 7% and they to make a 2% tax cut, it's not really helping you. It's still a worse situation than you've been in before. And if you would say that, yeah, well, I've lended the government my money by buying some bonds, I have to tell you that my parents did the same, and after 5 years, although there have been like 6% or whatever, a high percent given by the government, since the inflation was there, actually the value of the money or the purchasing power of the money went extremely down. So they lost money by lending the government money. They paid for the privilege, as Milton would say, they paid for the privilege to lend money to the government, which is insane. And on top of that, after the 6%, you will pay even the extra tax on your gains. So that's the last punch under the belt, and now you see what's going on. Now you see what's going on. And the solution to this is not to, although I'm not an expert, so I'm not an economist, you have to you have to know. I just read Milton and Thomas Sowell, who was actually Thomas Sowell was a student, I think. I'm not sure on which university. Maybe he was a student of Milton Friedman, so he learned from this guy. And I think that Thomas Sowell constrained vision would point us in the direction that we should not push everything away and put in charge a new person who is a messiah and knows everything, but we have to be really thinking, use our mind. And this is the problem which Thomas Sowell talks about or talked about all the time, that people don't use their intellect, they don't think. They just when they choose someone who is going to be a leader, they say, he's so charming guy, and he's nice, a nice family, or and they don't think through their what they say and what the consequences for 20 or 30 or 40 years are if they put in charge I don't know someone. So they don't think. And constrained vision from Thomas Sowell points you in the direction that you should think through things and not throwing everything out, but trying to fix it, trying to make the system better here and there, and this is the way to go further. Because we are fallible, we are humans, and we are greedy, and institutions are greedy, and merchants are greedy, and so humans are greedy. and you can find this everywhere. And this is nature. It builds on natural laws, and constraint vision has in focus the family, and not just the family, but moral, and the moral values, and also the how you call the market, the effects of a free market, the market effects. So these are the three pillars, as far as I understood. One is that the power of the family. The other is the free market, and the third is the morality. So morality, market, and family. So these point you to the right path of growing. And I think that if a community of a blockchain system grasps these three ideas by developing applications and systems for the users, then it's extremely helpful. If the focus is the family, and if the focus is good and clean morality, or free market competition, that's really helpful. And I see naturally this in the Ravencoin ecosystem, because, for example, there are several NFT platforms, and they compete with each other by giving a better price, or giving a better service, or making it more transparent, or easy to use, or is better for your eye when you get in and you see the colors like blue. I mean, there are special colors which are good for the eyes and which we like. If you make a research, which colors are used, have the best effect on consumers, there are colors like red, blue, and white. And a white background is something which is also really consumer friendly, in a sense that it's you are happier if you return to a site which has this kind of colors. I'm not talking just about these colors, but in general, there is you can research it. So if you want to make your service better in the Ravencoin community, you have to grasp this, that the highest service and highest quality, and with the lowest possible price, is going to be the winner. Inflation is there with us from thousands of years ago, because when he went back in history, he has seen that Diocletian in the Roman Empire did the same. He had beautiful silver coins, and he started to create new coins, but with less and less silver. So actually he removed completely the silver from the coin, and it had worthless materia in it, which was cheaper than copper. And you see that in history, it's not a unique phenomenon of our era, but it was always with us. And of course, he could spend those silver on other things, as meanwhile the population, or those people in the Roman Empire, been using the worthless coins. So in the current situation, as inflation is spiking, it is good if you are prepared and you understand what's going on, more or less. And I hope that I could help a bit to clear the picture here. And yeah, what could we do? I mean, what can you do to be safe in the coming years? Yeah, and I think it's important to talk about this, because you can, if you are prepared, then you are in a safer position. and I would really like to help the blockchain community to find a way to prepare in a safe way. And one thing is that you have 2 or 3 months, or maybe even more, reserved food at home. So in case prices go through the roof, you have something to live on, or if some extreme situation comes, you have some safety at home. And raising a garden of vegetables and maybe even fruits is another way. I know in Austria a family, they are really conservative, and the mother is every week she bakes a bread, and they have a tradition in this, and everyone in the family, they live in a one big house, which is good if the family is close to each other, so the members are close to each other, and if there is nature or a community around the house, in your neighborhood, who is where people can come together regularly and help each other. Because if you have reserved food and vegetables and your own safe environment, that helps. That helps in critical situation when inflation grows through the roof. And we see that cryptocurrencies are hit by these microeconomic events or macroeconomic events, what happened around the world, the war and so on. So it's not so easy, I guess, for the investors or the holders or those who even start a business, because if you want to sell something and the price changes so rapidly, then it's not an easy thing to adopt. But I think that the blockchain systems have a great future, and it takes time to go through this period, and it could be longer than we expect, because this war, we don't know if this war is in which state, because it could be that it's just at the beginning state of something bigger. And safety is important, preparing on a higher inflation is important, and using your mind is important very much. So you have to think through your future, your family's future, and prepare for everything. And I hope that it was not really depressive. I wanted to be more informative, and yeah, see you on the next video.